Ah, ladies and gentlemen, members and friends, it was a slight technical issue. Everything just dropped out very suddenly. Can you hear me, Alex?
I can hear you. We're clear, I think.
Welcome everyone. It was very strange. I took out an AirPod and suddenly camera went off, mic went off, and I had to. Anyway,
Just a lot of funky music going on.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't even hear the music, so I was just hoping that the music kept going and that vibes were high.
No, I think people are keen. People are just ready to go, looking at a glass, listening to some lounge. Happy days.
The lounge was the vibes were high. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Welcome to the February mostly virtual tasting, where the casks are mostly sherry matured, but not all of them. So
not all of them.
Not all of them, but they are mostly also February our turn. So thank you. I'm here with Alex Moores. Thanks for tuning in,
team.
Alex. How's your
day? Always. Very good. Very good. I'm keen to get into this because I've not tried any of these.
None of them.
Which is always fun. I haven't even had Dunwich Nougat, which, I've had the opportunity to try. It just hasn't come up yet. So
a lot of hype around it. And you're in luck because if you'll have a look at the tasting mats and the menus, but flip the right way around, we're actually going to do a little bit of a change. We're going to do Dunwich Nougat first and then share some sunshine a little bit later. So,
perfect.
Dunwich Nougat.
Let's go.
February malt of the month. Heresy's small batch single malt. Whew.
All right.
And Dov's here. Thank you, Dov, tuning in. What did you think of Dunwich Nougat?
I love to see the development on Heresy's. You know, they've been going for a long time now, reasonably long time, not relative to the whole history, but, we've had a lot of them. And you can just see, Ewan's blending progression with them.
Yeah.
I think the integration of them's just getting, better. And, some of the early ones were fun, but they were disparate, little concepts inside fighting with each other. And now all the ones I've had recently are very well integrated.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Heresy program started as a playground, so it's as you said, it's nice that it's sort of gone in the right direction in the way of integration.
That's very good. You know that weird thing where even though it's usually like a palate comment, but you can smell that a dram is going to have good viscosity. This actually smells quite thick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though that's not possible, but yeah, it's.
No, but there is. I'm sure there's a logical scientific explanation for it, but it definitely does smell thick. You can smell drams that are thick. I mean, that one for me instantly is Cross Atlantic Destinations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's probably association too because it's nougat. There's lovely caramel on it.
Yeah, and this this one had a really interesting maturation period in that it was it's a 9-year-old. It's a Speyside small batch single malt, so it's several casks that yielded just over 1,000 bottles.
Yeah,
okay, a little bit over 1942.
Yeah,
but it was matured in new oak hogsheads with heavy toast and medium char, and a new oak barriques with heavy toast but no char, and a medium plus toast with no char. There's a lot of toasting, a lot of charring going on.
But probably critically from what you just said, I think was heavier, not heavier. That's definitely, let's not use that word. More on the toasting side than the charring side, which I think makes it a bit more mellow, and a little bit less spicy and more vanillic.
Yeah. Dov has had over half a 700ml bottle so far. Fantastic.
Well,
it must be a banger.
We're only 5 minutes in, Dom. Calm yourself down, mate.
And it's important to note that this one, generally the Heresy ranges are watered down to 50%. Not all the time, though. The last few we've seen have been cask strength, but this one sort of returns back to that traditional form factor.
No, I think even with the relative sort of meatier tasting notes on this one, flipping the order is going to be appropriate because even though it's got that the smell of something about to be quite viscous, It's actually it's not cloying, and it's lovely and light in terms of that ABV.
Yeah. I think the palate's a lot lighter than I expected, especially considering it is such a thick nose, as you said.
Mm.
Our brand ambassador
Very nice.
Lachlan Watt, who couldn't be here tonight because it's actually his birthday. Happy birthday, Lachlan. But he was surprised
Happy
with
birthday.
a dinner. Otherwise, he was going to be here. But this was one of his top picks for the month. He absolutely adored this dram.
Yeah, no, I can see why, because it's especially with Lockie's particular approach to some of these. You know, it's a very versatile, being a heresy. Low ABV, well, lower means you can play with it a bit more. I can see him using this in a cocktail or having some fun with this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's what he excels at amongst many things. Mark Teague, thanks for tuning in, hitting us with the triple. Whiskey's my jam.
He
And whiskey's
across
my
all
jam.
platforms. Look at that. He's on them all.
Can you tune in from Instagram as well, please?
Yeah, and get onto X so you can say some stuff and get banned by Elon.
Yeah, of course. And tuning in from Switzerland, Jens.
Awesome to see you.
Thank you for tuning in. It'd be fairly early there, I'd assume.
Gotta love these. You know, you get the whole world in a room talking about the whiskies. It's great.
Exactly. I love the nose on this.
Yeah, I think nose is superior to palate. Palate's very pleasant.
Yeah.
But the depth on the nose, what it does well, because it's still like the name is very appropriate. It's nougat all the way through.
Yeah, like salted caramel nougat.
Yeah, salted caramel, a bit of almond. It's kind of that almost marzipan.
You know, one day I'm actually going to have marzipan.
You've not had marzipan?
I've not had marzipan. It's such a common tasting note in the society, though.
It's a weird one, though, because the food stuff is so sweet.
Yeah.
But like probably when most people use it, I use it when I'm talking more of that like very lightly roasted nuttiness, like that almond meal, but in a slightly sweeter form.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you eat it, it's not actually very good because it's so sweet.
Sickly,
and there's always lots of it on stuff. You know, like because you think of like wedding cakes, you know, where it's just like those old style. It's like a fruit cake covered in the thickest marzipan you can imagine. Like that's just the worst. It's the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, okay, but it looks great.
Looks great. Looks very smooth finish on it. Much like the whiskey.
Hey.
Whoa, that one right. It's so early for that.
Prefer whiskies that are smooth. I'll have to agree with you. The nose is definitely, if I had to pick between the two, the nose is gorgeous.
Yeah, and you wouldn't pick it as a heresy necessarily from the nose because
no, absolutely
it doesn't feel like it's a big hodgepodge of lots of different stuff on the nose. You know, it's not a confused nose, which sometimes you think, oh well, how are they able to create like a almost sort of 3 or 4 note nose from that many cask combos and different X contents. But yeah, as I said, it's a well integrated point.
Absolutely, and I mean it really is a testament because I know blends and small batch single malts in comparison to what we predominantly do as single cask are usually they fly under the radar. They're looked down upon sometimes still, and you have to think about it. It's where Ewan is blending these casks together to create something that just excels with so many moving parts. A lot more than a single cask. It's an art form. It really is an art form. Like a master blender is just incredible.
100%. It's such a weird throwback of like, well, not throwback, but such a weird juxtaposition to the wine industry, right? Because it just comes from this whole, our blends were bad. At one point, they were all that was drunk in the whiskey world, but then they became bad. Single malt was on the rise, and it overshadowed them. But I mean, in wine, like the master blender is basically the winemaker, and they're the revered one because they're all about finding, there's a gap here, or I can amplify this and create the finished, rounded off product. So yeah, I think we might not see it for a little while because the market is a fickle thing, but I think blends will come back. well
I hope so.
crafted, non 40%. So the ABV is appropriate for what it wants to carry on the flavors. You get the blend right, it'll be a super complex drams.
Yeah, crafted with intention, and whilst
Exactly.
the outturn on this is significantly higher than a single cask, it's still far fewer than any commercially available blend.
Yeah,
Obviously,
exactly. Yep. Very nice.
just for reference, I didn't shot that. I just cleared it out with water, just for
No, I wouldn't
anyone
blame
playing
you.
at home.
Wouldn't blame you.
Mark Teague, you're not streaming to the gram. That was clearly a cunning plan to drag me away from the live stream.
Well, notes for next
outsmarted.
time. Yep, notes for next time.
That's all right. Shall we share some sunshine?
Let's share some sunshine. 72 in a cool barrel.
So this, I mean, immediately a huge difference in the nose, and we're going from the 50% to what's the 62.3%.
Yeah.
ABV. This is a I mean, we technically can't call it a single cask as of I think it was about 2 years ago, but
that is delicious nose. That is 100% like roasted pineapple, limes. I reckon that sometimes these are deceptive and you don't always pick the rum cask element to it. But I reckon that screams rum cask.
I'm getting huge aniseed notes actually with like an open mouth sort of
Good
nose on it. This is an interesting one because we released, I believe it was November or December, we put out, I can't remember the name of it, but it would have been the same batch of casks in that it was another ex-bourbon into ex-rum maturation from this distillery, 72. And that was in the juicy oak and vanilla flavor profile. And you can pick them both up online at the moment as a duo, but the difference between them is it's almost chalk cheese. Like, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on the aniseed now. It took me a little while, but I'm getting definitely like there's a spicy herbal thing, bit of maybe stem ginger, something like that going on that's adding the spice to the spicy and sweet. Good old purple, dark purple. Yeah, that is very pleasant. I haven't even tasted it yet, but it's sort of that lower ester rum note. I always forget which one it is, but there's like butyl ethanol and something else that makes them the really funky versus the really mild esters on rums. And I much prefer exactly. And I much I was about to say I much prefer the lighter end, but then Hot Shots was a lot of fun.
Hot Shots was fun. It wasn't my favorite, but that rum we put out that we tasted in, I think, October or September, virtual, that was matured in a ex-society Isla peated cask. That was insane.
I forget that. I'm not very good with rum codes, but did it start with, it was something like J, like was it Jostling something? Anyway, someone will, Mark Teague's on. Can you Google that and put that in up there for me, Mark? Because it'll drive me mad otherwise.
I believe it was an X29 cask as well. But this one's an ex-Panamanian rum barrel that it was further matured in. So it's a 4-year split for a total maturation of 8 years.
There must be some very particular codes that lead themselves to this type of finish, I think, because I'm just trying to think of all the times I've ever seen ex-rum maturation, and it's typically like, you're right, it's probably 72s, maybe a few 64s, predominantly 3s. And so I don't know if that was like an availability timing of history piece or whether there was a real, focus on the spirit. No, it works. It works.
Was there a 93 from a couple of years ago that was further matured in rum?
I think there was. Yeah, I think there was. Yes.
I'm trying to remember if that was extra rum matured or if I'm thinking of a 3, because
now I'm not sure.
peated.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was the 93 that was, but I'm sure there's been a 93 that has been.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but you're absolutely right, and I think it seems to be Ewan seems to, especially in recent years, love further maturing in these 72s because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were there, but Pirate's Breakfast Juice was a 72.
Yes.
that was
yes.
further matured in rum casks.
That's right. And no, exactly. Very like you were saying about even different codes, but very different profile on pirates as well. From
Mm.
some similarity, like some crossover, but you tell them apart. Yeah.
Evening all. Thank you for tuning in, David and Carolyn Taylor.
Mm.
And Dave Cook from the train home. Sorry, Dave, I promise there will be a Wednesday night eventually.
I almost did that myself, Dave, today. It's like, I wonder if I could do that from the seat of a train on the way home with the drams. But
so that's a real background behind you?
Exactly, it is. Yeah. I'm not on my fake background and have PTV Metro behind. That'd be fun. Suddenly a hand comes in through the fake background and it's, protective services kicking me off.
It'll happen.
Oh, hey, Betty. Nice to see you again. Always a regular. Love it.
Thanks for tuning in, Betty.
That palette is very... it's predictable, but it's like a little bit more of the rum. I think on the nose I could have picked it up and like it had so much of that tropical. On the palate, unmistakably.
Yeah, okay. I'm definitely need to have another try on a palate because it's a very warming palate for me. Like it's not hot, it's not sharp, but it leaves a lingering warmth.
It does, yeah, and like high enough at the over 62. Quite makes you salivate. It's quite a moorish.
Yeah, have you eaten dinner?
Not yet.
No, neither.
You and I might be in some trouble here towards Dram 5.
I to be fair, I did have a slice of Biscoff cheesecake about an hour ago, so that'll tide me over.
Let me talk to you about this. What has happened in the last, I reckon, 12 months where Biscoff is now like, I reckon it's topic du jour or topic de annum. Everything's doing a version of something with Biscoff involved. It's everywhere.
I would say it's I would say even further than 12 months. I'd say like maybe 5 years, to be honest.
Yeah, I might be late to the party. Yeah.
I feel like that's when I sort of was made aware of it. A friend came back from the US and was like, "Have you heard of Biscoff?" And then suddenly it was all over the place, and there was a million donut variations and ice cream and cakes.
Yeah. McDonald's has a new range now where they've done everything in Biscoff. It's just like, it's that thing when you look back over culinary history of, at one point in time, no one was talking about X, and then suddenly it starts, and things like, salted caramel wasn't around until it suddenly was, and then it's everywhere. And particularly for like a really intense spike, everyone's onto it. And they're only, within the last, say, decade, some of these things that you think have been around for so long. Pumpkin spice. I mean, who knew when that was just there one year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Around Halloween. That might be your end, Betty, I think. But I genuinely cannot be sure. But glad you're here.
We can see and obviously get your comments, Betty. So if we're a bit delayed or something, it might just be you're on a slight time delay, but we can see your comments.
Mark, do you not have this stuff in Tasmania?
Yeah, it'll get there in about 5 years' time.
Dave Cook, Biscoff cask. I'm glad I reread your comment because I thought you were just saying Biscoff cake. But this is even wilder.
This would be wild. How would you do that, Dave? Like, would you cram a lot in and like leave it and seep it in with some liquid, or just like get the Biscoff in, or would you literally and then decant, or would you just leave Biscoff in there and have the whiskey suck on all the Biscoff, the whole time? I think you're the latter. You'd have to do the latter to make it taste a lot like Biscoff.
Yeah, but then is it like?
Well, the SWA would not let.
Oh no, that would not be whiskey.
No, they would crack down on that.
Could you do that in Australia?
Oh, mate, you can do anything here. Do whatever you want.
So, yeah.
That's interesting, Dave. Because sorry, your other comment there. The first pumpkin spice in the US, fun fact, contained 0 pumpkin. When they did the ingredient, what amount of nutmeg, what amount of cinnamon, what amount of pumpkin, This is basically Starbucks' story. Their first ever recipe, 0 pumpkin. So there you
Yeah,
go.
right. What's hopefully spices though?
Lots of spices, basically just Christmas spices. Basically nutmeg. Pretty much just tastes like nutmeg.
the best spice next to cinnamon.
Yeah. Well, that is such a good dram, I reckon. The nose on that is pure just tropical goodness. You could highball that, or you could have it as we are, and it'd be brilliant in both forms.
That would make a fantastic boil maker as well, I reckon.
It would. Yeah, good point. Because ABV would carry it. You could do it with like quite a heavy beer, I think, to cut through. Like you could almost do it with a stout or a porter or something, and then the citrus in this would carry it through.
Absolutely. And that bottle, like all the other bottles, by the way, are available on the website. And drumroll, Sherry ships at checkout, complimentary shipping for the rest of the week. So any bottles you've been eyeing off, it's a short month, but you can make it longer with a bit more excitement in your life. Maybe it's
Gotta
just
love some
strength whiskey.
Gotta love some sherry. Dob, you got it 15 minutes in, mate, and you were already asking the right question before, so there we go. That's your answer. There's the deal.
But no, huge fan of that whiskey. Delicate, delightful, and dainty was the other juicy oak and vanilla 4-year split, right. 72, and they're available as a bundle actually.
That did have more vanilla, didn't it? Like it was.
That absolutely did.
Yeah, it definitely was.
That was more a like a tropical sort of Mai Tai vibe on the beach. Coconut
pina
juice,
colada-y and
pina colada. Yeah. Actually, that's a much better description of it. This is definitely more on that like heated lime, sort of juices vibe.
You put the rum in the coconut and you drink it all up.
Exactly. Biscoff is the pesto of the 2020s. I hope you're talking about Pesto the penguin, because Pesto is the king.
Pesto, amazing. That's solid. Yeah, that's solid. I think that's probably one of the better rum casts I've had, just in terms of actually being able to tell it.
Yeah,
and it complements entirely whatever's going on with the spirit character. I've had some where it's either it's a bit too much rum for me, and that'll be personal taste, or it just doesn't. It may as well not be a rum cask. Like it's all sort of the vanilla of the bourbon cask. It hasn't really had enough of the rum, or the rum cask hasn't done enough. But this is a nice point to have taken it out of the bourbon and putting it into the rum. No,
agreed. It's not overpowering. It's soft on, but not too soft.
Yeah. It's all rum barber now. It's like it's gone desserty. Love it.
Rum barber. Also still available.
Yes.
Dov, we are coming to my favorite DRDF distillery. You know what? You're not wrong.
All right, Dov, calm down, mate. Just drink more of your Dunnage Nougat and calm yourself.
Are you a fan of Deep Rich and Dried Fruits 35s?
You know what? I think DRDF 35s are my least favourite 35s. There you go.
Dov, you have 30 seconds to rebut.
Let's go, Dov. Let's go, mate. I haven't tried this one, and I'm sure I'll like. Actually, no. What was I'm going to take that back, because there have been some recent ones that bucked my historical answer there. Because what was Marmalade Matured Cognac was DRDF 35, wasn't it?
That was god tier. The color on that was deep, almost crimson black.
It was so well balanced. I was expecting it to be oversaturated with the cask, and it was like perfection on the cask.
Marmalade Mature Cognac, that was a 20-year-old. I think it was PX into PX, or Oloroso PX. It
wouldn't have worked. It was just too much sherry on the stats, but it was amazingly good.
Yeah. Sometimes excess is good. Sometimes excess can be good.
Right. Well, I'm going into it now. Now we're talking about it.
35.339 medicine for the soul, 16-year-old, and this one is a further matured bourbon into first fill Oloroso.
There is some beautiful color on that, though. I mean, whatever. We're not meant to talk about color. Ooh, doesn't mean anything, but
No, but you know what? It still looks nice.
It does.
It still looks nice.
Glass.
Betty
And there's
unfortunately
no
keeps
fake color in that, so it looks nice naturally.
Al natural. Betty, we will catch you. Well, we won't catch you tomorrow, but you'll catch us tomorrow. Sorry you're having issues, but hopefully you can still enjoy the drams.
Yep.
Back to exciting news. Morsey wants a lynching party after him. Interesting.
Oh yeah, the DRDF 35 comment. Yeah. No, you know what, Dave? What it is?
That was just in general.
What it is that I think 35s I've always referred to as such a good like canvas spirit because it was the Lumsden playground, which a lot of the SMWS stocks of 35 come from. It's a very versatile base. Like Graham Cool is my experience of distillery managing that place for years. Amazing at making great spirit. And so it works in it's probably, I think I've written an article on this at some point, but I reckon it is the most flavor profiled code. I think Bunnahabhain might just beat it actually because it sneaks into all the peated categories, but then 35 has also had peated categories. But yeah, it just does everything. And I think among that, what it means is, well, when it's like vibrant and young, it's incredible. When it's like old and dignified, it's fantastic. Remember some of those like incredible Vaults Collection 35s that, were just complexity in a bottle. And then, yeah, DRDF just always was like, well, if you've got good spirit and at a point when sometimes using a cask for the sake of DRDF is just let's get some red fruit into it, I'm like, yeah, I can take it or leave it. But then, yeah, as I say, the more recent ones are phenomenally good.
I have to say, this is fucked good. Like this is. I'm loving this on the nose.
It's serious. Like now we're talking about Marmalade Mature Cognac. I'm like, am I doing it to my head here? But it's reminiscent. It's a bit reminiscent.
It is a bit reminiscent, but I'm also just getting like, honestly, Dov, it reminds me of your Christmas cake. It's got that really boozy Christmas cake with all those fruits, dark fruits in there and nuts. It's got a bit of banana milkshake to it, a little bit of cherry on there. It's such an incredible nose.
It is really complex, which is that means a well done transfer. Because this is the thing as well, Adam. You were saying about the single cask comment, which is a good pickup. Around lots of these when they're sherry are going to be starting life in bourbon and going into sherry because full maturation sherry, like we were alluding to just then, is often like fraught with danger, right? Because it'll be cask saturated, which inherently means there's at least 2 casks involved. And it's all about when you get it out of the first one and put into the second one. But I just think the complexity, therefore, in these modern sherries that aren't full maturation is insanely good because you've got all the vanilla and the bourbon and everything from the first one straight into shorter maturation, quick and dirty, but get like all the right red fruit and depth of the sherry components in there. Because I'm getting a lot of nice vanilla coming through now on the back, and it's just like that's bourbon cask all the way through.
Yeah, like a vanilla sponge for me.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
But it's, I mean, you've touched on a great point, which I guess was touching on my point. We're just touching all the right points tonight.
Touching each other's points.
Oh,
We're just touching points.
It's, anyway, moving on. But, there's such a concentration on stats. It's like, this is a further matured whiskey. There must be something wrong with the original cask. No,
exactly,
absolutely not. None of our further matured whiskeys are further matured in other casks because there was something wrong with the first cask. It's done because of exactly what you just said. There's an opportunity to just explore flavor further.
That's it.
And it might not have that prestige of a purely single cask, but it doesn't matter. It tastes damn good.
Exactly. Whatever tastes the best in your glass. I think I remember that same comment, just quickly pausing on that, around when there started to be the small batch, or particularly like it would have started with when there were that a period of acquisition where there were a couple of casks that had already been put together and then taken out as single casks. And so the society went, well, basically the 24s, the 4s, some of the 38s. It was like, well, we can't call it we have to say this was a lot of casks put in and we took them out as a single cask. but someone else did that. And some of them tasted better than the pure single casks. Like in a blind test, you go, well, I actually prefer this one over this one, personal choice and all that, but still amazing whiskey. And it shut down the argument. Like if you've got a better tasting whiskey that happens to have come from a marriage of 8 casks, who knows, 4 casks, it just goes to show sometimes, not always, you get the magic of ironing out little extra hot bits that might have been there, or amplifying out, something that was there and you just want to really ramp it up, or adding the filling that hole, which is what I think this extra maturation stuff is about. We've got the vanilla, we've got the bourbon, we've got all that. Let's add some red fruit. Let's get the sherry in there and round it right out so it's a complex dram.
Yeah, and just we've both said it a few times, but the phrase extra maturation, I just want to touch on that because there is a difference between extra maturation and cask finishing, and what we do at the society is predominantly like 95+%, especially nowadays, is extra maturation, and the difference being it has to be 3+ years to be considered a further maturation. Anything less is a finish.
It's a finish.
I guess that's just because they deemed that it wasn't enough time to really have that much of an effect.
It's actually a really interesting point because the 3 years is because then it's another whole whiskey, or it's another whole legal age of whiskey again. But I wonder if in countries where that's different, they'll introduce the same thing. But for example, in Australia, it'd be 2 years to match up with the initial maturation. I've just had some. Sorry, I've had some.
Go.
Finally,
I should have some. Go.
And that is amazing. I would say slightly hotter than marmalade was, but the insane amount of like confectionery, but like licorice, aniseedy spiciness is amazing. It's like a bag, like when you get the bottom of a lolly bag, but it's like that's only had those like black licorice cats in it.
Yeah.
Plus those licorice all sorts with the little bit of sugar and the colours and whatever that they've got going on. That is an amazing back palate. The front palate's a bit like, yep, cool, whatever. But then the back palate is fantastic for me.
The back palate for me is certainly just all of those dark licorice, not the nice raspberry white chocolate ones that I do love, but that traditional dark licorice, and real spicy, not hot on the tongue, sharp spice, just genuine. It's hopping around.
Definitely, and it's not sweet, which is interesting given that sometimes they're the Oloroso is drier as a sherry, but sometimes sherry adds that just inherent sweetness. But yeah, it's fascinating because that makes sense. It skips the front palate because the sweetness up front isn't there. Sometimes, if you're getting really just granulated sugar, it'll be right on the tip of your tongue. But all of that spice and complexity is hitting right back here. Therefore, great finish on it. I mean, the finish is
incredible finish. Mark's asked a question: is that an SWA reg? I've not heard a specific time period before. I believe it is. I've been told that several times by the UK head office. I'm fairly certain it is.
It's a use of maturation, Mark, because if you say finish, it's just been in something to finish it off. It could be a day technically, right? It could just touch it. But saying extra maturation, once you start to say maturation, they go, oh, well, if you're going to say that, it implies it's done 2 maturations at least. And because a maturation is 3 years minimum to be legally whiskey, they're funny about the word. But I quite like that because I think that's SWA's got its place for transparency, and I think that's a big one.
Yeah. Good question. Good question, though. I have a question for you, Alex. What would you pair this with? Would you pair this with a savoury, and I'm going to broad stroke here, would you pair this with like a savoury dish or a dessert, do you reckon?
Savoury. I was thinking about that as I was drinking it.
Of course you were.
Always. I'd go game meat or duck.
Yeah, okay.
Like something like venison or duck, I would say, would be really, really good. Maybe even kangaroo. Because this is not sweet. No. Game meat is a bit sweet, and I think that would work. And then the spice on this would just lift it, I think. I'd love this with like some venison tartare or something. Would be phenomenal.
Venison tartare. Wow, that's
get some umami in it too, though. So give me like a bit of mushroom or something with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know where I can get some venison tartare in Melbourne?
I think the best game tartare I've ever had in my life was at Wickens restaurant over in Dunkeld at the Royal Mail Hotel, right. And it was probably the best tartare. It was the best tartare I've ever had. But I'm not huge on tartare like some people are. Shout out to Mal in SA. I know he's almost like the
tartare master.
Guys who go and like review Parmas and stuff.
Yeah,
Mal's like the wherever a good Scotch egg or tartare is, that man will be there to tell you how good it is.
Mal, next time you're in Melbourne, Mal, Reed House for a Scotch egg, because really incredible Scotch eggs at Reed House, I have to say. I had a friend who recently ate 10 in a row.
That's big.
On Valentine's Day, so yeah.
Okay, well, he decided what his two options that night were, and let's just say went with Scotch eggs.
Oh yeah, no, they were multiples of Scotch eggs. Dov just bought a 35.
Nice one, Dov.
Dov 339.
Good comment on the boar, mate. I think boar would also be good. That same sort of level of game. I've never found boar that same level of sweet, but I know where you're going with it.
I don't think I've had wild boar before, or boar in general.
I had boar at Lume. I think it was quite tasty, but yeah, I think of all the, I don't know if we're even calling boar game. I think boar's just pork, isn't it? But yeah, it. I would go a bit lighter with this personally, but everyone's got their own palate, Dov. Go for it, mate. Send your photos in. If you drink some 35 and find some boar, send us a photo.
If you drink any society whiskey and having it with some food, send your photos.
Yeah,
send them to my email. Tag us on social media. We love seeing people drink. We love people seeing people eat. As long as it's society, of course.
Don't take a photo of yourself like mid forkful or whatever, because like no one wants to see that. But do your plate. Take a photo of your plate. That's fine. Your cooktop. No worries.
If you've already taken a bite, that's fine too.
Correct. That's fine. That just proves it's almost like genuine proof of life or proof of death.
Did you know that Mr. Tom Roth was an ex-chef?
Tom Roth is a legend, and he speaks like a chef. If anyone here has been to a Roth tasting, he gets very into like the production method in the same way that a chef gets into stuff, growing stuff, and no, he's got the palate, that guy.
I mean, I knew the first part. Tom Roth is a legend, and Hobart and Lonnie members, keep an eye out because we do have some Tasmanian events coming soon in the pipeline. But I did not realize he was an ex-chef. There you go.
Exclusively of tartare and Scotch eggs. Interestingly, that's his origin story.
Actually,
no. No. But wouldn't that be amazing if that was true?
That would have been amazing.
He ran a little cart, eggs. little side of the road cart, just Scotch eggs and tartare
outside the vaults.
Oh, I tell you what, if the one thing I wouldn't buy from like a street van at the side of the road in Australia would be tartare of any kind.
Yes, yeah, no, that's true. The Scotch egg at Whiskey Abbey though, did you end up having one of those?
I did. Very good.
It was huge.
Yeah. Not like I've seen. I'm used to much less
dainty.
Yeah, like exactly. Like basically kind of the size of an egg, really. Or a little bit bigger, obviously, but not very much.
This was all Scotch.
This was all Scotch and all pork meat.
Yeah, delicious, but...
Yeah. Speaking of delicious, what do you think? Should we do... I'm so excited for this next one. I just
this next dram... Right. Lachlan
we're doing it.
Would not stop talking about it.
We're doing it. Yes.
4.395, and this is Lachlan's favourite distillery, or at least favourite society distillery. I'll need to double check that one, but I know it has a place in his heart, and red wine and brine in the old coal mine. God. Because
Oh man,
what a name, because society names, you know.
I'm sorry, I was listening to you, but I've also
No,
just
that's
nosed
fine.
it, and holy, oh
Yeah,
my god,
it really is. It's reminiscent of the Peat Plants 4, and it just transports you back to that time before I was born. But from what I hear, the Distillery 4 OBs from the 80s
oh,
were just like,
yes.
and it's I mean, it's a 25-year-old, but it was matured for, I think it was, so 19 years in bourbon hogsheads,
Oh,
and then they were transferred to a first fill ex bodega Oloroso butt, and the difference there being an ex bodega sherry cask is one that's actually been used to mature sherry for 10, 20, 30, 40,
yeah,
50,
none of this
100
staining
years.
of the cask stuff, proper stuff.
No,
Yeah,
not that there's anything wrong with,
yeah.
seasoning, but this is a rare opportunity to taste something that has matured sherry for quite possibly 100 plus years. Like this is incredible.
That nose is like spectacularly good.
Yeah,
I haven't even tasted it yet, but like that is unbelievably good. And
it's
sometimes people, you probably get this too, Adam, like, and Lockie and Matt got it. Like people ask us when they've had a few drinks or they see us at the bar and stuff, like, oh, what's the deal? Are you like just making some stuff up and talking to each other, or are you being genuine about your tasting notes? I'll tell you now, I'd put my hand on my heart. The nose on that is unbelievably good. I mean, if you're watching this without a tasting pack, take my word for it and go try some. But if you've got the tasting pack, you don't even need to have that confirmed. Like, you've got it there.
it's I can't put my, pardon the pun, but I can't put my nose on what exactly I'm nosing, but there's something. It's almost like a not like blood and bones, which sounds
Oh,
grim, but
I know what you mean.
know what I
Yep.
mean. You know what I
Yep.
mean.
Yep. I think that's that coal minerality element to it.
Yeah, and it's important to note this is the greatest flavor profile. This is an oily and coastal flavor profile.
Never had a bad oily and coastal.
It's not quite lightly peated, and there's nothing below it, but it's oily and coastal.
It's the weirdest one too because, when you're looking at the colours, for those who are new to the society and haven't checking out our colour profiles and stuff, there's sort of the 4 groups of 3 colours going up in gradients, and blue is the weird one because blue starts, with like light, and then it's got vanilla in there, and then it goes boom, oily and coastal's dark blue, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
it's a bit of a weird progression. Not a progression, just a different colour. And oily and coastal is a league of its own.
Yeah, pretty much. It is very much in that, because I've always considered spicy and dry and deep rich and dried fruits and old and dignified to be their own.
Yep.
It's like that's a group of 3, but they're individually unrelated to each other.
Yes. Whereas the peated is very clearly levels of peat.
Exactly, and same with in a manner of speaking, you could argue young and sprightly, sweet, fruity and mellow, spicy and sweet. Maybe the latter two more so.
Yeah.
Young and sprightly less so, but
it is a development, like you were sort of indicating there. It's a progressive
But with light and delicate into juicy oak and vanilla, and then all of a sudden you're in oily and coastal. Oily and coastal is a standalone beast, It's a DLC. It's just
oof, and what a dram.
Have you tasted this yet?
Nah, and I'd like everyone will always know I buy that on the nose. I just sit there and smell that. I could never touch a drop of that, and I'd be happy to have bought that.
I want to throw out a tasting note that I don't think the panel would have covered, which is fair enough because
I can check you.
Different.
I can check you off against that. What's your note?
So,
and I'll just confirm.
Uncooked cookie batter, choc chip cookie batter. Like that Cass.
That is all on you, but I know exactly where you're going with it.
Because the closest I think would be their salted butter.
Yeah, and they talk about cocoa powder slightly. And, but no, they're not. They're not on that. Not on that doughy element to it.
They clearly never ate it by the spoonful growing up.
You know what I find amazing about these is because I 100% agree with you, but I also agree with all the stuff around beach notes, the seashell thing, seafood, general sort of vibe of the oily and coastal. And it just doesn't make sense on paper that they would work. But then you get all this like lovely, sweet, desserty stuff going on, plus you get seaside, and somehow it does work. Like it just as in together. Like they somehow go together. There's a comment in the notes. I only just saw it because I was looking for your note. It says praline-filled barnacle shells. And it's off the back of a sentence that is way more about it's got a combo of honey and smoked bacon and sausages and then praline filled. And I'm like, shouldn't work. Like praline and sausages, no one's eaten that. Yep. But in a dram, it works.
After taking a sip and then going back to the nose, I definitely get that smoked bacon, like really fatty, oily pan with the bacon just absolutely popping in there.
Yeah, there it is.
On the palate, it's definitely that sort of one of my favorite parts of drinking the peat plants 4 was I think it was Heather Ember, but I can't remember by name.
Yep,
was the absolute warming wash of salt, like hot salt water that came down my throat. This has that on a lighter aspect. I felt like a much lighter aspect.
I couldn't agree more with that. Yep. Yeah, it's there, and the salted element is there, kind of like there's a touch of the brine in terms of the seafood elements and the shellfish elements. But yeah, it's more mellow than Heather was. Heather's an interesting note for 4s as well because I'll have to look into this to confirm, but I think Heather's most used as a name of bottles of 4, Distillery 4.
Yeah, right.
And it's sort of this synonymous thing with the Distillery 4. And Heather is a weird one where I've heard 2 different I won't name any of them, but 2 very different palates and different experts on this. One said, well, Heather's obviously Heather, like we're getting Heather. And one said Heather is a fake news thing where everyone just throws it in because no one really knows what Heather tastes like and really even smells like. But it's just kind of this generic term for like meadow and not that petrichor meadow, but just like dryish, grassy meadow kind of thing. Oh, it's got heather. So it's slightly floral grass.
Yeah.
But I've used it.
I mean, when I read it especially in a dram like this from a distillery like this, honestly, I just think of burnt heather. And whether that has anything to do with Ember Heather Ember from pea plants, I'm not sure. But that's what I always think of.
And then you're thinking, more smoke, more of that actual of the charcoal of the smoke of the embers of what you're getting. Yeah.
And just to link back to our a recurring theme in this virtual tasting on single cask versus further matured versus blended malts. This is technically speaking, this is a single malt, not a single cask. It's not even a double cask sort of thing, because this was a series of ex-bourbon hogsheads that were then transferred. Contents of those casks were then transferred into a single cask. So it's not a single cask. This is a single malt. It's a 25-year-old single malt. But again, doesn't matter.
It's one of those parcels, of the 4s that were, and a lot of these, even when they were the 12-year-old ones that were in our lightly peated profile, they were delicious. Despite being, what's that line they always, I'll read it because I forget where. Oh, we combine selected casks from the same distillery to turn the single malt into a variety of casks. That's the disclosure.
It's their stock standard.
This is one of those casks, like it's law and order. Bum bum bum. These are their stories.
This is one of those casks, and but as you mentioned, we generally see 12-year-olds.
Yes.
Of this, and aside from the peat plants, we haven't seen another one of this age statement in quite a while. I mean, the last one we saw in a premium livery, not including the peat plants, was the deep rich in dried fruits, which actually was a single cask into a single cask. And the something to do with warlocks, I think. Something to do with
Yes.
magic or beasts, mythical beasts.
Mythical beast. Both the things you remember were true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Premium malt of the month from a couple of years ago, I believe, which was an absolute cracking whiskey. But it's so in a way we haven't actually seen a cask like this in a while.
Just the nose on that is just, I just can't get over it.
Yeah,
how quality that is. It's got everything the notes say. I'm now reading them because I don't usually necessarily focus on the notes. You do your own notes, but because we were chatting about picking out the flavor note that you said, I'm now reading it. It's got all of that, definitely, but it's just got it's got so much developing over time too. I'm getting fantastic like German baked goods, like the ones that are sort of like a bit less sweet themselves, but then have a bit of like granulated sugar on the top of them, and kind of like a pretzel, but a sweet pretzel.
That's
thing.
exactly what I was picturing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a winning cask.
That is fantastic.
And Oiling Coast flavor profile. I mean, and we do have a limited number of those available.
Yeah, well, how many? Because I might have a look at that.
Because we've got 13 left.
Yeah, sweet. Excellent. Well, jump on that, everyone, because there'll be 12 by the time I log off this. I think
you heard it here, folks.
That is phenomenal.
And just another little quick plug, which is sort of also relevant because of the whiskey that we've chosen, but complimentary shipping. Sherry Ships is the code, so use it at checkout, and that is valid until the end of the month.
Yeah.
Essentially, 11:59 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Times, 28th of Feb, which is this Friday. I'd love to say midnight, but there's a technicality where apparently it's technically not midnight, so it's 11:59 p.m.
Mate. You're speaking like a true lawyer now. Midnight is the next day. You'd be into March if it was 12 o'clock.
But then is it midnight? Is it really midnight? Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
so midnight is not a real time, is what I'm hearing.
11:59.59 in the Olympic watch sense of it. Yep, got to be before.
Yeah. Please jump on the website if there's something you've been eyeing off. There's only a few days left to grab it, and also why not jump on and check out our mystery malt bundles. Check out Jan casks, check out February casks. It's all there.
It's amazing you avoided the phrase. You literally could have said, get it while it lasts. Get it while it lasts. But do it. Do it, team.
Yeah, do it. We do things differently here at the Society,
We do. And lost my train of thought, but I was going to say something. Oh, that's right. Given it's about sherry, you said Sherry Ships, which I'm going to mess up the word of in 1 dram's time. But the other interesting thing about this, which I find, we were talking before about cask saturation. This is quite open that it's 19 years in the bourbon. Yeah. And that means it's done 6 in sherry. Yeah. Which ratio-wise is actually still quite high. But the sherry doesn't overpower it at all. No. It's still very much distillery forward, which is sometimes the risk with a cask, that it starts to overshadow and
I guess, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would also definitely, the fact that it's a bodega cask play a part in that, because if it was a seasoned cask, I'd imagine it would have a much more of a sweeter, heavier influence. Not that this hasn't had a cask influence; it obviously has for 6 years, but being that it's a bodega sherry cask, it's been used potentially, over and over and over again. So it's what it imparts is quite gentle. It's a softer kind of sherry.
Spot on. Yep, agreed 100%. And that's what you find sometimes where it is. There's nothing, as you said, there's nothing wrong with seasoning, but you just be careful with the maturation length because it's going to be more intense, impart quicker because the sherry itself is less. The depth into the wood is less. It's had less time. Whereas bodega casks, I don't know if anyone's been to a tasting where they show you sherry casks that have been sort of long bodega length maturation and seasoned, but if they've got a stave and they show you how much the liquid has eaten into the cask. With some of these bodega casks, the sherry is so far in that it is basically just leaking out of the pores of the outside of the cask. And that's when they know when to recycle them, if they start to spring tiny little leaks across the wood.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, I mean, the depth of flavour is, like you said, hundreds of years of sherry production.
Yeah, and I mean it's worth noting, if you hadn't already guessed, the medicine for the soul was matured in a seasoned sherry cask. So you've got 13 years of bourbon maturation, 3 years of seasoned sherry cask maturation. Here we have 19 years ex-bourbon, 6 years ex-bodega. So, just what you were saying, it's generally a shorter maturation time if it's further matured in the seasoned cask.
Yes, exactly.
There's your, it's right there.
Man, the palate has actually grown on me. The nose is unbelievably good, but the palate is quite meaty and really rich on that whole the sausage, as you said, the honeyed meat element.
Yeah,
delicious.
And it's so different from any other sort of oily and coastal sherry matured whiskey you might come across. Which, to be honest, I'm trying to think now that I've said it. I don't think we've often see many sherry matured whiskies in the oily and coastal flavor.
My friend, it's funny you say that. If that had more iodine, that would be getting close to Creaking Ships in a Fog, the 29.
Yeah, right.
Iodine and soot, because that was a very drying dram, that Creaking Ships in a Fog 29. But it was a similar age. I think that one might have been 21 or 23. Someone will be able to Google it for me. And it was oily and coastal, 29.
I remember, because that was the moving strip label, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
But there's an empty bottle at Whiskey and Element that I always see from time to time.
That was a fascinating dram. It was the drying element was confusing about it. Like, it sort of makes it stand out. But if you take that away, it had a lot of similar things. Lovely salinity, great depth of that meatiness, little bit of ash, like a little bit of that campfire kind of thing going on to create the smoke. But then, that had more soot and was drying. This is a little bit more meaty, I think, in terms of that red meat sausage component. Delicious.
Yeah. Just a quick shout out from Mark Teague. If anyone is heading to New Zealand for Dramfest 2025, Morsey over here and Mark, as well as some other familiar faces, will be at the SMWS stand.
We will. We'll be running the show along with our good friend Alec Tay, ex-ambassador for the SMWS in New Zealand, and obviously Whiskey Galore, the shop that runs Dramfest, been a good supporter, and they sort of are the little HQ for the society. If you happen to be at Dramfest, drop by and say hi. I'll be slinging on the Saturday, and Mark will be slinging on the Sunday.
There you go. Oh, Friday for Mark, he says.
Oh, sorry, Mark, you're Friday. There you go. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there you go. Mark's got it. And should be good. Fun time.
Yeah. Dov will not be attending the 13th of March Queensland event because he has a birthday dinner. That's okay, Dov. But if there is anyone from Queensland tuning in, that event on the 13th, it's creeping up soon, I know, but it's going to be an absolutely killer event because, one, we've got Carmen Hartwich, guest host, leading a panel of absolutely incredible women of the industry, one surprise guest, and one of which is Leah Dunnigan, bar manager of Savile Row, who just took out top 25 best bartenders in Australia. Like,
very cool.
Huge. She's an incredible human being. So I would come along to that tasting if I could. Also, there is going to be some really, really tasty whiskies from there. Two of which are from Carmen's own personal cellar, as well as another 4 society drams, one of which is a vault collection.
I'm going to pick you up again here, Dov. Mate, like, you're doing it to me. But you said birthday dinner on the 12th, the day before. Get amongst it and get your act together and go along on the 13th. And no excuses.
Where is the birthday dinner that you can't get to the tasting on the 13th?
Unless you're in another country. Come on, mate. Get around it. No, everyone look after yourselves. But do what it takes, Dov.
I'm kind of scared to open up this next comment because it's such a Mark T comment. He's just throwing a bunch of stats at us.
Stuff's going to do some stuff now. Yeah. I don't even
Is
know.
this? Oh, this is what's on pour at Dramfest?
Oh, don't leak that,
It
Mark.
must
That's
be
secret. That's a secret that
cheeky Mark.
everyone now knows, Mark. Come on, mate. Get your act together.
You know what?
It's a good lineup, though.
It sounds pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. But you know what's actually very good, considering it's got no sherry maturation in it. This 16.82 refill recharred hogshead 9-year-old 64.3%. This is our final whiskey of the evening, folks. It's a peated whiskey. It's from that haul of recharred casks that we received. Although we chose to mature, I should say. And it is.
I think that is great. 16 is a not in my not my personal absolute favorite, but is definitely in my top codes. Like I look out for them and usually buy them because of how the quality of the food related notes to 16s is incredible. They had breakfast in a Highland Croft. The UK released Womble Pie, funny name, and there's just all these amazing, just literal breakfast in a bottle type drams, as in we're talking Scotch eggs, it's got them. We're talking toast and butter and everything, it's got them. Bacon, pancake, it's got them. And this is another one of those. I think I haven't tasted it yet, but on the nose, it's another one of those very porridgey, breakfasty, malt-driven, complex drams.
Yeah, I mean, I tasted this in. So this is a January our turn bottling, I should say. But I thought it was worth a feature because honestly, every single one of them have been bangers. Each one of these 16s that we've seen a few of in the last 6 months, and they're all dirt cheap as well. They're all things considered. $169 for this cask strength single cask 9-year-old peated legend. You should steer your turrets towards it.
He always gets one in. He always gets one in. Not when Derbs is around, but when I'm here, it's okay. This is Glen Turret Distillery, everyone.
Damn it! It's true. It is Distillery 16. But you know what else it is? Damn tasty.
It is very good. It's a lovely. I definitely wouldn't say one note. It's got a lot of notes, but it does what it does well. I'm getting so much cereal. The spirit character is 100% what this is about. It makes sense, I guess, for those who don't know, Draff is the sort of cereal remains, dregs of what's left after the wort is taken out of the mash tun. So usually just becomes literally the cow feed or whatever that if the distilleries give it away. So it's all about malt. And I think that word in the title of this bottle is showcasing how much the malt-driven nature of this dram is. This is distillery character all over. Let me put it that way.
It's real salty.
Yeah.
Like after having a sip and then going back to the nose, it's just...
because I'm getting a little bit on the nose alone. Yeah, okay, I'll have a sip. Excellent.
Yeah. No, this is really good.
That is also very deceptive, given its ABV. That is a lovely mouthfeel. Yeah, it's almost 65 or 64.3.
Yeah, 64.3. I mean, that's does not drink like 64.3.
No. It coats the palate lovely. It doesn't overpower any of the flavors in there. I haven't put water in this yet. It doesn't need it. You can always do it, obviously, as I always do, with a little couple of drops at the end, but doesn't need it to drink beautifully. It's very chewy too. Have you ever been at a tasting and had little containers of the malted barley that some brand rep has brought around, and they've gone, you can eat a few if you want, and you've just sort of had a crunch. It's got that level of that, just an absolute touch of the chalkiness that is there from when you're actually eating the barley itself, because the spirit's weight is quite good.
Alex, have you heard anything about this?
I have not. I haven't. I don't think that's happening for a long time. If that's true, I mean, I don't disbelieve it's true, but I think it might be one of those things where they say stuff like, "We're not going to do that anymore," and then their stocks are meaning that it's going to be like that for another 50 years or 30 years or whatever. But
yeah, we won't see the result of it.
But also, it's a good point, Mark, purely in the fact that peated versions of this are probably more what has been given to IBs over time. Because the distillery itself, it's been on its ups and downs, but it's probably clung to its unpeated when it's been bought and sold by various people. I think it's still Lalique at the moment. I'm not as good as this ownership. Matt was always I was the society nerd, and Matt always knew everything about ownership and history of, who owned what at what times and stuff. But I think this is still Lalique. And it wouldn't surprise me that they're clinging to and winding down clinging to the unpeated, winding down the peated part. But I think the majority of the 16s that the society's seen are peated because it's what was given up by the owners at various times.
Yeah.
Also remembering it was a important ingredient of Famous Grouse when it was Edrington owned. Hope I'm getting all this right, team. And therefore the unpeated was obviously what they wanted to hang on to because they wanted to make up grouse. If Craig Johnson from who's now the head blender at Grouse is listening, and he's probably the student of this way more than me in terms of what went into it, jump in. He's probably asleep, validly, because he's in Scotland. But
Well, speaking of Scotland, there was a slight possibility that we were to have a special guest joining us from Scotland, but unfortunately, schedules. Mr. Bailey's a busy man, but there's always next time.
Yeah, well, he misses out because he hasn't got the drams. So, in your face, Bailey.
That's right. We don't even want you here. No, we do.
We do.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan.
It's also slightly older. We've generally seen the last few 16s we've seen of this recharred barrel maturation have been 7 to 8 years old. This is I know it's only 1 year, but you know what? We haven't seen it. We haven't seen a 9-year-old in a while, so it's exciting to see.
Dead right. I think that's and that's only gonna. If I would be really curious how this goes at, old. I've never really had I've had some Distillery 16 OBs that are older, but they're generally diluted and they're sort of more vatted together to create the house style, kind of, your 25 and the 30-year-old and stuff, which feels it's fine, but it's a bit like a neutered product to create a particular flavour profile. Perfect for them. No complaints, no criticism. But I'd love to see us do a 25-year-old one.
Well, I guess it'd have to not really be one of these recharred barrels. It'd have to be a much less passive barrel, not an active one.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Unless we really want to go balls out. Oof. Yeah.
Sorry to cut over you, mate. It builds. No, go. The peat builds in the way that chili builds in food, if you know what I mean. Like, I had a sip, I'm like, yeah, lightly peated. Like, peated's a bit of a stretch. I'm not getting it. It's mainly about the food element, the meat, the malt.
Yeah.
And then as I drink more of it, like, it's getting peatier, I think.
Yeah, no, that's
on
fair.
The palate. Yeah.
I'd be really curious to do a tasting where it's essentially a 16 vertical, where we taste all these 16s from the last 6 months, side by side. Same maturation, similar age.
Yep,
because they've all been peated, but they honestly they have tasted all differently. Some have been a lot sweeter than others. Don't fear the Chili Reaper. I think that's the right name.
Yes, beware the Chili Reaper, whatever it is. Yes,
beware the Chili Reaper. That's the one. That one was particularly a lot sweeter. I remember because I purchased a bottle of that. But it's just been a lot of, and again, testament to the single cask. The single cask, just that it's same cask, same distillery, but just different expressions.
It's actually, that was an interesting one because the Chili Reaper, I forgot that when I was talking about the food ones before. And a lot of people were sort of like, "Oh, does it have a heap of chili?" And I reckon the timing of that was also because we must have put out the little chili liquid that's not single malt
Are we
that I'm not
talking
allowed
about
to call single malt.
Are we talking about the first or the second?
Well, the second must have been around the second.
The XP01 experimental.
That's it. That's right. Yes, XP.
I was a huge fan of that. I've still got a bottle and a half of that. I should do something with it, to be honest.
It was objectively delicious. I think it was just
it was.
Yeah, I'd happily have it. But, well, with food it would be perfect, but even by itself, it had a kick. But yeah, no, the chili, Beware the Chili Reaper did not have that same chili I think people were looking for. It was just
no.
It was just a name for I think the food complementary component to it. Yeah. I've just seen your comment, Mark. Agree. Yeah, my point was I reckon given the ownership, the man himself would probably be across what went into it in terms of the old way of making that blend when it was Edrington owned. Oh, sorry, when the distillery we were talking about was Edrington owned.
Well, I think that's that essentially wraps it all up for the whiskey portion of the evening.
What's the next portion? What are we doing next?
Well, the next portion is just some little bit of housekeeping. A reminder that we do have complimentary shipping until the end of the month, so just use Sherry Ships at checkout, and we'll cover the shipping costs. Just the regular shipping. So if there's something you've been eyeing off, definitely jump on that. And the next one is, as is tradition, we're going to share with you the cover of March Outturn, which goes live this Friday. That's the preview. So preview is also always the Friday before the release. And release is always, except for November, always the first Friday of the month. So there is March Outturn, celebrating International Women's Day and Grape and Grain. So expect a few more sherry matured whiskies, as well as our International Women's Day whiskies, at least 2 of them from the series, which is really exciting, and a lot of fantastic content around that. And
send me your favourite photos, team. Everyone watching this, of your wine of choice with your whiskey of choice. There you go. It's not a competition. I just want to see it. I want to see which wines you're drinking with your grape and grain combos.
Yeah, grape and grain. That's what it's all about. And there's one last announcement, which was officially announced, a little teaser last night. But that is when it loads. There's a new version of this whole streaming system. So,
you all know what it's about because it's so exciting.
It is, but it's not coming. Oh, there it is. Has it shown up for you?
It is now. Yeah, event of the year or two.
The 2 years. Champs, the Australian Malt Whisky Tasting Championship 2025. It returns this year. So the last time was 2023 at the National Art Gallery. The Art Gallery of New South Wales, I should say. And it was a huge success. It's our largest the largest whiskey tasting competition in Australia. It's good fun. People get around it. 8 drams. You have 9 written on a sheet beside you, and it's basically just one red herring, and you have to match up the whiskies. It's good fun, incredible prizes, and a huge after party afterwards. I mean,
I'm looking at that photo going, I mean, full disclosure, I participate. I've never won because I'm not that good, but oh my God, it's fun. And I'm looking at that photo going, I remember that room. What an amazing vibe that room was. Even just coming in, seeing everyone who hasn't, is from every different state, territory, hanging out. Look at there, you got 2 states represented there. Fantastic. It's just, it's the ultimate society get together, because I guarantee if you've watched a virtual, been to an event, done whatever and touched on something outside your state, it's everyone goes. It's fantastic.
And that's the thing. People travel from interstate for this event. This is the ultimate, not just society event, but the ultimate whiskey event in Australia. Like it really is. Yeah. So that will return for 2025, July 19th.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Save the date. Official venue announcement and, well, all the sponsors, the prizes, they will come in the coming weeks. But the official venue announcement will be this Friday morning. So if you're not on our mailing list, which I assume all of you are, join up. And you don't have to be a member to participate, by the way. This is just
Good point. Yep.
an incredible whiskey event to be a part of.
Yep.
So I'm really excited for this one. I know you are too, Alex.
Oh my God, it's going to be good. I mean, I'm hoping, that I'm not roped into doing something because I want to participate. But my problem is that I usually, because I'm so excited and love everyone, go out for beers with everyone before the event. And that means that my palate is totally shot and my brain is shot. And that's my excuse for losing. I'm pretty sure the year that Seamus won, he'd probably had a fair few beers before the event because the man is a genius. But that's my excuse anyway.
You can't give in to peer pressure on this time.
Correct.
Not even from yourself.
Correct. So, that's right. If I don't have a pint before the event, it's not really champs.
Traditions are traditions, you know.
I'm not quite as bad as it just reminds me of different palates and different people quickly, but the good old some people that will remain nameless don't eat all day or for the 2 days before, they go crazy with it, like they're full, keep my room with no unusual smells, I'm calibrating my nose. And some people will have a garlic kebab 8 minutes before walking in the door and shaking Susie's hand. So however you want to do it. However you want to do the palate, do it.
But as long as you don't wear any strong cologne, that's the only thing we ask.
It's a rule. It's a rule.
Everything else is allowed. That's fine.
That's right.
All right. Alex.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. Don't forget, Sherry ships, complimentary shipping for the rest of the week. Let us know what your favorite drams were on social media. Post your virtual tasting setups. We always love to hear from you. We'll always share it. And just, thank you for being around.
Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Adam.
Alex.
See you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.